education policy forcefully brings 3-year-old children into formal education system. This is a direct, blatant infringement of the rights of the children. Children have a right to stay home, to spend time with their parents. Nobody, be it the government or any other agency, has any right to take away the rights of the children, which are their birthright, to be with their parents, to be at home. A compulsory mandatory admission of a child into a formal education system is unethical, immoral, and if I am right, it's illegal. It may not stand the test of law. If someone moves the court, perhaps this is bound to be scrapped. Putting a 3-year-old child into a universal system is bound to lead to psychological negative impact. Who will be responsible for it? We can't count upon the system. We cannot rely upon the system that says a 3-year-old child has to mandatorily go through the process of a formal education system. This is very bad and it just has to be objected to. The very approach of this education policy towards school education, particularly the children education, is very bad. The draft policy says a strong ECCE program, that is Early Childhood Care and Education Program, is among the best investments that India could make, with a return of at least rupees 10 for every 1 rupee invested. It means that it is some sort of an investment. If someone invests 1 rupee in child education, it will be getting something like 10 rupees in return. This could be the worst approach towards children education. Children are sent to school mainly to gain knowledge, to become more obedient. This should be the purpose of education. Children education can never be evaluated in terms of money. This education policy is doing it, and so this approach, this commercial approach towards children education, has to be condemned, and it just cannot be accepted at all. The exit policy in higher education is again not a good move. It is in fact very bad. It says if someone gets into this 4-year degree course and if he wants to leave at the end of first year, he will be given a certificate. Suppose he leaves at the end of second year, he will be given what is called an advanced diploma. This move indirectly encourages people to leave the program off the way. This is not at all good. The policy should be such that it encourages the student to sustain his interest, to keep the ship going. It is not the case anymore here, and it really will lead to more confusion. Like suppose there are some 50 students in a class at the beginning of the course. At the end of the year, first year, suppose some 10 students leave. There will be only 40 left in the second year. Suppose next year another 20 students leave with the diploma. Then only some 20 or 25 or 15 will be left in the third year. So this is really, it will lead to a lot of confusion. Where will this how this institution will run? How will they be able to retain the faculty members? How will they pay? So many things. Suppose, and there is what is called a flexibility in choosing the careers. If someone wants to switch over from some mathematics to music after 6 months, naturally if one student switches in one class, naturally others would follow him. There are around 40 or 50 students in a class. Suppose someone someone wants to switch over from mathematics to music. Naturally, in another week or 10 days, more and more people will opt for switching over to that student, the other one. Now, in the mathematics stream, we will have only some 10 or 15 students or even less. Whereas in the in the music session, we will have something like 150 students. It leads to so much of confusion. That just should not be there. See, flexibility just cannot be reckless. There has to be some restriction somewhere, but it is not there in education policy. It gives everything on a platter. You say, your student can study a particular subject for 6 months and then he can switch over. So this is really this will lead to utter confusion. We don't accept it. New education policy is clearly in favor of running virtual classes. We can understand the importance of technology being thrust into education system. This is fine. But again, there is a very big danger. Bringing virtual classes in schools virtually eliminates the presence of teacher there. The teacher-student relationship is a very noble one. It's a very precious one. When you give so much of importance to virtual classes, slowly and slowly we remove the presence of teacher there. So the very fundamental relationship of teacher and student will not be there anymore, and it's a very important one for a healthy society. There are only two people who can really shape up a person: the parents and the teachers. By taking 3-year-old child into the formal education, you are already ready to cut off the relationship, the noble relationship between the child and parents. The quality time is taken away. And then again, by bringing in more and more number of virtual classes, naturally the teacher-student relationship is going to be cut off. It's also going to be cut off, which means that a person coming up in education, say after 10 years or 15 years, will have none to shape him up. Parents might not be there, even teachers might not be there. They are left in literally helpless situation. This is not at all good. This is not at all healthy. We have to do everything to strengthen the bond between the parents and children. We have to do everything to strengthen relations between teacher and students. Any move that goes against this is not going to be good for the society in the long run. This education policy is totally silent on the financial implications. At present, it is like 10+2 of school education system, which means that the parent will have to spend for 12 years on school education for the children. Now it is going to be 15 years, 5+3+3+4, which means that the parents will have to compulsorily, mandatorily spend extra money for 3 extra years to provide school education to their children. The draft education policy says 95% of the people, for 95% of children have education up to 5th standard, 90% up to 8th standard, and only 71%, if I'm right, 79% up to 10th standard, and only 51% reach +2 level. Only 51% of children reach the +2 level as it is now, as it stands now. If there is going to be extra liability of 3 years on these parents, naturally this percentage will still drastically come down. Already we have only 50% of children coming to +2 level, and now it may be even much less, might be 20% or 30%, we don't know. It's very dangerous to include 3 more years of school education, and that much of to put so much of financial liability on the shoulders of the parents is not at all good. It is not at all appreciable. So the government has to come out and say something like freeing people, freeing parents of these financial liabilities. Unless this is done, 15 years of school education is going to be a very big burden on the shoulders of the parents, and it is not at all. On the part of the private institutions, again, the financial liability might be much more than they anticipate, much more than what they expect, because this flexibility factor, because of this 4-year degree course, and because of so many other infrastructural facilities that are to be installed to make everything virtual, is directly going to put so much of financial liability on these private institutions, and I don't think they will be able to increase the fees, and it is not good also. On the one hand, they have to pull more financial resources to accommodate the incoming new policy, and on the other hand, they just cannot increase the fees naturally, because it will be a severe burden on the parents. So it's going to be a tough time for private institutions, I feel, unless the government comes out with some sort of financial package to carry out or to cater to the needs of the new education policy. It is going to be a very tough time, really. Actually, private institutions will have to do a lot of financial management. I think it is really difficult times ahead for them.